In this video, I'm going to be talking about using dplyr to do some data manipulation. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about using dplyr to do some subsetting of the data. Right. So we have our California Workplace Area Characteristics data frame inside df. Just to show you what's inside there, I'm going to do a glimpse. And this has all of these characteristics, and there's 243,000 observations, 53 variables. Now, the first thing that I want to kind of talk about when using the tidyverse, environment, using the tidyverse suite of packages, it's that one of the big advantages is being able to use this kind of piping operator, and so I'll kind of demonstrate that right here, and I'm going to do something that we have kind of already seen, but just in a different format. And so this is this percent greater than percent just makes it so that you can kind of chain together lots of functions, but still make it easy to read. What it does is it takes whatever's on the left-hand side, so here it's just df, and it passes it as the first argument of whatever's on the right-hand side. Here is head. So this head function, it looks at the top few rows of a data frame. What it's going to do is it's going to take that df, put it in as the first argument of head. Now you can do this with any number of functions. You could do stuff like test, and then I'll do print, and it'll print test. Right. So, this is not very useful in these, situations, because you could have easily just done head df, and it would have actually taken fewer character to do that. But, when you have a lot of functions that you want to chain together, it can make it a lot easier to read. So, for example, I'm going to do something where I'm going to filter the data set. I'm going to subset the data set, and then I'll do a head on it as well. Right. So, using dplyr, in order to subset the data set, subset the rows, what I can do is I can use this filter function. And so I'm going to just filter this so that the total number of jobs in that census block must be greater than 50. Right? And so what I want to do is, when I just ran this, I got all of these values. This is pretty big. Let's just look at the head. All right, so what is happening now? What we're doing is first we take df, I'm going to pass it as the first argument in filter, and then the kind of conditional statement is C000 greater than 50. All of the rows have to have C000 greater than 50. And then that itself is a big data frame, and that's going to be passed to head. And that's just going to give the first few rows of that data frame after I do the filtering process. And so in a way, you can kind of think of this as kind of like a sentence structure. Right? You have df as your noun, your subject. This is the subject of the sentence. Filter is a verb, and then head is a verb. So basically, you're just taking actions on this df. And so basically, you can kind of go and go across and say, okay, so I have df, I'm going to do filter, and then I'm going to head. And you can do more complicated things. For example, if I want to subset by columns, I can use the select function. And so I'm going to do this where I filter it. So I'm going to do the same filtering. And then I'm also going to select just, let's say, W geocode and C000. And then I'll also do a head. Right? So this is going to just take it step by step. We have the data frame. We filter it so that only the rows with C000 greater than 50 are included. And then we just select two columns, W geocode and C000, and then I look at the first few rows of that data frame. And so, this is the output that we get. Right? And so one thing to notice is that, when we're using dplyr, when we're using this filter and select functions, we don't actually have to put this C000 in quotation marks or this, W geocode in quotation marks. This is just kind of the way that they've created it so that it's easier to read, easier to work with. All right. So the big thing here is just kind of getting familiar with using this percent greater percent syntax, as well as using these filter and select statements in order to be able to subset your data frame in any way you want.